Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another episode of 2K Drones. I am joined by, as always, my buddy from another mother, Chucky.
Hey, Keith, you're looking really good this morning, sir. Or good evening,
thank you.
or
Yes,
good everything.
Evening here. Look.
I like your shirt.
Now.
Yeah,
I've got one now. Oh, very cool. I've got one of those as well.
I'm actually doubling duty on this shirt because I wore it to work yesterday in the office because we had 6 people retiring, so it was a solemn day. But I did a little bit of filming, but I only used my phone, so the frame rate's off and everything else. And it kind of leads into what we're going to talk about today because, like, I just wanted to capture some moments I didn't think I was going to capture, so the phone had to work because what they always say, the best camera to use.
There's nothing like a good bit of self-promotion, but I know what you mean. We are down one man today. Unfortunately, Henry is off doing far more important things, and I think he's doing swimming, isn't he? He's taking part in a swimming thing of some description or another.
He is Aquaman.
He's Aquaman. The cool Aquaman.
The cool one. Not the dude from like Wonder Twins or whatever the hell it was, though.
So it's been, I mean, we haven't been live for a few weeks because unfortunately one thing or another we've been rather busy. Traveling, doing a lot of things like that. We fully intended to plan the show this week, and then I got quite ill in the week, and then one thing after another. So it's kind of going to be a bit of a sort of
don't say it.
It's
like it's gonna be like a town hall today. How many people are?
Yeah. Chuck calls it town hall. I call it winging it.
Town hall. It'll be a town hall on things you can do just to kind of be a touch more cinematic. And I know we're all striving to do that. I've seen some. I'm not going to call anybody out. I've seen some real crap this week on YouTube, and I say it. I mean,
I'm with you.
I'm going to say something, and anybody guilty of this, don't get mad, because I got mad when I was first told this. But for the love of God, edit out the jerky stuff. Don't have the camera going like, on your drone. I mean, don't do it. Don't be making adjustments and stuff like that. Just, it doesn't matter if your frame rate's perfect and your ND filters are perfect and your exposure is perfect, but if your camera's moving around, like, people are just gonna go, no. Except for your really good friends, they'll be like, "Oh, that was really, really good. That was great. Yeah, it's awesome." And then behind your back, they're saying, "Oh my God, why did he post that crap?" So that's all I'm saying. I am not a snob. I am working to be as good as humanly possible at this hobby. So don't just post stuff because you were just fooling around. Serious, man. Be serious. This is, I mean, fly for fun. It's a fun hobby. Fly for fun. But when you're gonna put stuff out, it's got to be your best. Best you can do.
If you're gonna put stuff out that you are trying to show off, yes.
Yeah.
If you're going, oh, look at my, drone flying. Yeah. So many people I see on sort of Facebook forums post these videos, and they've got they pan from left to right, and you go, oh, that's a nice move, and then suddenly the drone will drop down like that. You go, look like that, and it takes you out.
That's the stuff you have to snip it out, and sometimes it's really hard. Excuse me, because sorry, Keith. because you know how it is. You're trying to, so when you're creating the video for YouTube, you're usually putting it to a score of some sort, because music, as we know, is the backbone of videos. If the music is good, usually the video doesn't have to be as good as, and it'll still fly okay, pardon the pun. But yeah, sometimes you have a clip where it's like it's a really good clip, but it doesn't quite have enough time to like fill that void where you want it to be, like in that section of music. And you know you've run into this. So what do? I know what I do. I slow it down a smidge, and then then it runs over, and I get that stupid where I decided, oh, I'm gonna stop the drone like 50 feet before I should have, like an idiot. Then
it depends what editing program you have. If you are using one of the big three, i.e. DaVinci, Final Cut, or Premiere,
right,
you can get away if you're shooting, say, it doesn't matter if you're shooting in 30, 25, 24, wherever you are in the world. If you slow down when you're shooting in that frame rate, you then do have to use something called optical flow, or it does look like stop animation. Now,
my best friend.
Yes, optical flow is brilliant, because what optical flow does is it fills in the gaps.
Right.
It uses intelligent AI, if you like, and it analyzes a video and it creates frames. And it makes it smooth. But not every editing program does that. So if you're just starting out, I would shoot in 50. Because or 48 or whatever.
No, that's right. That's actually true. Or 60 frames. Because some people, a lot of people still film in 30, and I did it for a really long time, and it's actually okay. I think the 24 frames is a bit softer on the eyes, and I like that. But some people really prefer the 30 frames. It's quite the debate on YouTube, Keith. I'm sure you've seen it, like I have.
I've seen the. I've seen the debate, but personally, you cannot call 30 frames a second cinematic, because it's not. 30 frames is.
I argued with you
I know
on that.
But if you go and watch any kind of film, it will be, depending on where you are in the world, 25 or 24. So if you're in a UK cinema, 25. If you're in an American cinema or certain other places, it's 24.
Of course, that's what's best.
Now, to put this into perspective, you might have remembered. You might have remembered when the first Peter Jackson Hobbit film, not Lord of the Rings, Hobbit film came out. He released it in 48 frames a second, and people complained because it was very weird, and it was an experiment they did, and it failed utterly. Because people are not used to that frame rate. Now, the reason people are slightly more forgiving of 30 is because you see that on television. But when you want to call your work true cinematic, you have to shoot in the cinematic frame rates, which is 24 or 25.
24, 25. Yeah. I did notice, the more I watched my work, that my other stuff that was on 30 frames, I was like, God, it does have it has like a TV video, like, kind of feel to it, which like HGTV, of course, is probably 30 frames and stuff like that, and the footage is all pretty good, but it seems less organic. I think is the only way I can describe it is less organic. If that
it's because you're not used to it. It's all to do with what you're used to seeing. So yes, I mean, when you get those sort of sweeping aerial shots, until not that long ago, you never really saw that on TV. You only saw that in the movies. So your eyes, and I think, are more used to seeing it. And this is why I know there's a huge debate about this 30 frames, versus 25. I'm a 25 frames because I'm from the UK, and that's what I shoot in.
Right.
And to me, that does look less home movie like than 30. I'm sorry, it just does.
It just does. I have learned. I agree. And again, it feels more organic too, which is it goes along with being so persnickety on following the 180 rule, and being sure that if you film in 30 frames for whatever reason, then make sure your shutter is 1/60th of a second. And then you're going to have to use ND filters to bring it all in to keep it from being, when you slow that shutter down, you're letting all that extra light in. Now you have to reduce the light level with ND filters. It's going to be all blown out.
If you're buying a drone or you've just bought a drone, it doesn't really matter which drone you've bought.
You're just learning how to
fly.
It's
not a DJI thing. If you're flying it for fun, then a lot of what we're going to talk about really doesn't
matter. If I go out
really apply to you.
Well, crap, I go out to fly the DJI FPV drone, unless I'm planning on using the footage for something in a project, it doesn't matter. It's just a blast to fly that thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, the color. I mean, DJI have got pretty damn good color science. So
they do.
You can shoot in normal and you're fine. But Chuck mentioned ND filters, and if you are wanting to get like cinematic sort of videography, ND filters are an absolute must. You have to have them, because you have to shoot. Not only do you have to shoot in the correct frame rate, and that would be 2450 or 2550. You also have to have your shutter speed to twice that of your frame rate. And the reason being is, again, one of the other things, you might be shooting in that right frame rate, but if you're not having your shutter speed down, something's going to look slightly off, and it's all to do with motion blur. And you might hear people describe ND filters as sunglasses for your camera, and that's pretty much what they are. What they do is allow you to slow down your shutter speed so that you get that motion blur, which is natural. Because if you do that in front of your face, right, and you can't,
you're
really
blurring right now. It's perfect. You're getting motion blur right now, just like I am. Right, just like that.
Yeah, but that's because this is set. The shutter speed is set on this correctly. It's cinematically set. This is set on 25 frames a second.
That's another thing right there, Keith. I'm using a Brio, right, and the Brio is okay for a webcam, but look at the color difference between my image and yours.
It's not just the color difference. Yours won't be. I don't think you've got your shutter speed. So if you do that, yours is probably going to be slightly clearer, slightly. But depending on the light in the thing. But yeah, I mean, we are, as I said, winging this slightly, and we are going to go into these topics in more sort of like detailed thing. But some of, as Chuck said, some of the drone stuff that I've seen just recently on Facebook, and people putting these videos up and going, "What do you think?" like that, and then people tell them, and they get really very upset. So
you asked, I've asked. I remember you remember droning on the early days. Well, I shouldn't say that long. I feel like the early days was not even a year ago. But when Ash opened it up to us in the Discord, I was flat out asking, like, "Don't hold back. Tell me what you think." And it was painful because people told me what they thought behind closed doors. And I was like, wow, yeah, I suck.
I mean, we've talked about, it's true.
True.
We've talked about frame rates and things like that. But the first thing that you need to master is just flying your drone and smoothing those shots out. Don't worry about ND filters to start with. Don't worry about frame rates. That doesn't matter to start with. It's just getting those smooth shots and understanding
get the controls down, because it's like when you're flying the drone, if you're taking pictures, that's different. We're talking video here. We're not going to talk really stills, because drones are great for stills, because now you can compose the shot any way you want. You can zip the thing, boop, 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 get the shot, like, yes, right there, and get the shot. But you're right, Keith. The first thing you need to do is master the controls. And that's true even if you're going to take pictures, because you don't want to be flying it into a tree or anything. You want to be good with the controls, be able to move it around. Your battery time is limited, so you have to make good use of your battery. And that's another reason to be good with the controls. Fumbling around and stuff, that's battery time right there.
As Art said here, cut the pauses out. So the first thing you've got to do is just remember, it's all about transitioning. So you can have two different moves, but you've got to transition from that one move to another. So for instance, you could have a reveal. So you could be flying your drone forwards or backwards, depending on how it takes you. And at the same time, you can pan the gimbal up. But there's a couple of things that you want to do in most drones. Now, for the most part, I've only ever flown DJI drones. I have flown a couple of others, but not drones that I've owned. But this setting is pretty much
I know where
on
you're
most
going.
drones. And it's something that Chuck brought up, and in fairness, this was Chuck's thing, but I do this, and Chuck does this, is with your gimbal.
Yeah.
There are settings where you can
2 settings
effectively make sure that when you stop panning up, that the gimbal doesn't dead stop, because that again is going to put the thing off.
That's your smoothness. That's gimbal smoothness that you're referring to.
You have to let it sort of slow down, not just break.
Yeah, because your gimbal, you'll be using the dial on your controls, and the gimbal's moving up, and then when you let go, if you don't have the smoothness set high, well, basically, if the smoothness is set to a low number, the gimbal's going to go. Okay, and that's almost as bad as panning the drone around. Whereas if you set your gimbal smoothness high, the gimbal's going to move up, and then you let go, and it goes, which is much better, because now you have a little more latitude and freedom to edit later too. And it's just nicer to watch. It's prettier. And then the other setting you were going to bring up is your gimbal speed,
yes,
or pitch.
Because you want to dial that down.
That one you're going to like. I know some people, I think on a DJI product, typically a lot of guys will set it at 9. I find that to be a bit fast because I'm just a slow mover. So I usually am more like 5 or 6. But you have to kind of set that to taste too. But all these settings are for you set them to taste what you're creating. So you have to set it up to be what works for you as like a creator. And again, I'm not a master. Keith's actually much better than I am at doing any of this stuff. But it's fun to learn though.
You're not far behind me, man. And sometimes you have better ideas than me. And you'll go, why didn't you? It's like some of the time I'll show him a shot, and he goes, "Oh, I bet you did this and this." And yeah, why didn't I think of that? As Art's pointed out in the comments, and as we keep saying, the number one rule is remove those pauses, remove those jerky movements. Do not include movements where you go like that and then like that. It is one move. Now you can do 2 movements in that one move, but it is one move. Now, there are things that are very, very difficult to master, i.e. when you're panning around something, that can be quite difficult. But DJI drones, along with other drones, have point of interest. And you can use point of interest because point of interest, especially with the latest DJI drones, it's so easy. You draw a box around your thing on your screen, you click go, and it starts orbiting around. But what you can then do as it's orbiting is you can move the drone out and up, so you get that kind of moving up. The drone's
doing the heavy lifting. Yeah, now you're letting the drone's algorithm do the heavy lifting. It's orbiting for you, which is a very difficult maneuver to master. And I actually take great pride in the fact that all my orbits are, chopped on. But it's really, but that's so much. I should take advantage of orbit, because again, you're right. You draw the box around the object, you start the orbit, and now you're free. That hard part is done. Now you can mess around with the gimbal. You can have an orbit, and you can reveal, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, you can move the drone up and around, so you can get those, or down and around in. So you're still doing more than one movement, but
you can do a spiral
Exactly, but you're taking some of the heavy lifting off you and putting it onto the drone, because the drone can do it,
which is good, because it's your camera crew. And if you have if now DJI or whatever the drone manufacturers, Logic is acting as one of your camera guys controlling the drone. Because what do the pros do? They have like an Inspire 2. One guy is flying the drone, the other guy is operating the camera. So basically, you're letting DJI fly the drone in the circle, and then you're more operating the camera. And now,
but yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, but
the shots that are mind blowing.
The number one rule, as we keep, and we'll say it again and again, is remove those pauses. The drone, as a rule, the drone should always be doing something. It should be moving. Stopped.
Never.
If it's stopped, don't use it unless there is a very specific reason. If there's some bird flying around and it's coming in out of shot, sometimes that can be a great shot. But for the most part, the drone should be doing something. But
that would be a separate.
If it's going to go from doing one thing to another, there should be a smooth transition. Remember, don't just go from one thing to another without smoothing it out. It's all about smoothness. It's all about thing. If you get these jerky stop movements, it doesn't look good. And people, no offense, you put that stuff up on Facebook, your friends are going to go, oh, you're getting footage. But most people are going, that because
why?
And we see that a lot. And it's very simple. It's as I said, look, you can be forgiven for not knowing what ND filters are. People will forgive not seeing natural, motion blur. That's something you can perfect later on. People will. You don't have to learn to color straight away. You can shoot in the normal mode. DJI's color science is second to none these days. I mean, it's really good. So all you have to care about, really, at this point, when you're first starting out, is just learn to smooth out your shots. And when you're editing them, don't include the pauses. Don't include the bits where you like that, or the drone goes like, and then like that.
That's something I struggled with, and it's still tricky. But if you have a spot where like you always want one shot, whether it's whatever number of seconds, it should be under 10, by the way, typically, to keep interest up. But that varies. It depends on what you're doing. But like, you don't want to have the drone, like he said, stop and then start moving in the shot for a shot, if that makes sense. It should be fluid. Like one of the pullbacks I did recently, it took me a while to clip it. I had to clip it back. So when I snapped to a shot, it's like it was a pullback shot. So when I go to that shot, the drone's pulling back. It's like it's already moving, it's pulling back. It's not like I come into the shot, you flip the shot, and the drone's sitting there, and then it starts moving. You don't want that. That's
I wanted to mention this, Chris. Yeah, depending on what you are doing, I wouldn't always use point of interest, but it is kind of cool to play with, because if you're of like filming yourself or doing something, you can get started doing orbiting, and then you suddenly realize that you can move it up and away, or move it in, or just move it up and down,
or just move the gimbal up and down.
And you suddenly get some really interesting. Yes, you can do, depending on the shot, but if you're orbiting something, you're focusing on that. So just start moving the drone up slightly and away slightly, and you'll suddenly realize, oh, this is an awesome shot, and you're not having to worry about the orbit. But manually orbiting things is still a good skill to have, and I still do it a fair bit. I mean, I think there was in my last video in Wan Nam Kia, we were at this sort of amazing looking sort of coffee shop place, and there's a shot where I'm flying the drone very low and it's orbiting around. That was manual, partly because I could see trees and I was making damn sure I wasn't going into the trees. But that was a manual orbit, and actually it worked out much better, because if I'd gone on an elliptical orbit, as point of interest does, it wouldn't have looked as good. So I was kind of almost doing an oval orbit, which again I wouldn't have got with point of interest. But then I wasn't going up or down. I was doing a flat level orbit. Now, when you're doing flat level orbits and you're not doing anything else with it, do that manually. You have far more control.
Orbiting. I was orbiting a couple of statues at the video I just rolled out in Industrial Arts, and I was very close to those statues, Keith. So orbiting, just like anything else, when you're close, it was hard to have that small movement control.
Yeah,
I had to do that shot, I don't know, 6 or 7 times before I got it right. And then a lot of that ended up on the floor, because I didn't want it to look, oh my God, if you saw the raw footage, you'd be like, it looks like what we all do. Yeah, that's why they cut all that out. It was, trying to circle 2 big statues and orbit them really smooth.
Another thing that a lot of people say, because you just suddenly made me think of something there. A lot of things when you're first starting out, people will say, oh, plan your shots. Don't use up all the footage. That's bullshit.
I wing it.
Buy yourself. But no, I agree with it. Buy yourself the biggest SD card you can get, right? And those drones can, I think, now take up to 256. And then just film everything, right? You can edit. Okay. Now, if you don't like to edit, then you're going to have an issue.
You can film everything, but I suggest starting and stopping in like increments. So you don't want massively huge clips because you're going to, and here's something, somebody else brought this up. I can't remember who, but when you say you're going to try it, like I was describing, I was trying a shot and it didn't go right. And then I tried the shot and it didn't go right. And so when you're going through your footage later on, you're going to see like, oh, I took this whole sequence. I had like six tries at this. Probably number 6 is the best because that's usually what you'll do. You're like, yeah, that's it. I think that's it. So start when you go through your clips later on to save some time in editing, go through them like newest to oldest. So the one you did last versus the one you did first, because chances are that's the money shot. But that's just typically how it goes. Always go. You can go through all your stuff, but I'm like you, Keith. I try to plan. When I get to a spot I've never been to, which is typically what I'm doing. I haven't been here. I'm looking around. I'm like, wow, what can I do? Oh, okay. And then then the gears start turning. It's like, okay, I can get this shot, and then maybe I can get that one. And then you're flying them. You fly them, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. I could do. Oh, yeah, I could do this. Because you're limited to your environment. Like if you can't always plan in advance with Google Maps and Google Earth and all that.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I wouldn't even when you get to a spot, stick the drone up in the air and look through the drone.
Survey it. See what you got.
Exactly. You don't necessarily need to. I sometimes know where I'm going roughly, and I'll have an idea. But there are other times when I'm passing through something, going, I've got to fly the drone here.
Stopping and flying. That never happens. Well, now Lem and Lori are both telling us.
Oh yeah,
you gotta stop here. You're gonna stop here, right? That's where I'm at anyway. Lori's like, yeah, that would be a good shot. You should fly that, and then she tells me what I'm supposed to do.
Mate, that's normal. Everyone does that.
No, but she actually, Lori's good at composing shots. So like she's in photography, she's got it down. It's just natural for her to compose shots that look good. So yeah, when Lori says that'll look good if you do this, and sometimes I'll argue with her, but I'll try her shot anyway. And then later on, I'm like, yeah, she was right.
Yeah, that's also the case a lot of the time. But I mean, I think just the lesson of this week is smooth out those shots. Cut out the pauses, and genuinely worry about that. Don't get distracted by anything else to start with. The whole thing about ND filters. Yes, if you want to get to the cinematic point of view, you are going to have to learn those. But it's all in good knowing what they do and knowing all about frame rates. But if you can't get a decent shot, then all of that is for nothing. So
I think it's
your piloting skills.
And we work on that all the time. I know you and I are always working on being better pilots because it's really bizarro when the aircraft's pointing in the direction where everything's you're well, okay. Now I don't even know the name of this. Now I feel stupid because like yaw, and you have ascend, descend, yaw, like clockwise, counterclockwise. But when you do kind of like the dolly shot, is that traverse? What's that called in aeronautical terms, Keith? So I'm flying the drone, the camera's pointing straight ahead and it's going this way. That's the one that becomes that's reversed on you when the drone's facing
sideways. Sideways shot.
Sideways. Anyway, that's the tricky one. That's the one that still screws me up from time to time. Even when I drove radio controlled cars, when you're driving the car towards you, right becomes left and left becomes right. It still messes with my head. But this is because I was picked last in gym class. So that's I have to deal with these limitations that I have as a human being and still appear to be a good pilot. So that's what I'm doing. And I think we all struggle with that to some extent. But work on your piloting first, like Keith said. That's number one. And then I think it'll all come into place. And your shots, break them up into the scenes where, okay, I'm moving, I'm going this way, and I got this nice shot, and then that one's done, and then okay, now I'm going up and I'm revealing something or whatever. And what's really cool, Keith, you told me this a while ago. If you're like panning this way, so you're moving a shot, then the next shot should also sometimes the next shot should do this kind of the same motion but a totally different view, and then they kind of flow together. Like I did one shot where it was in that video where we were at with the fire tower where the police escort dude, and a few weeks back, one of my vlogs. So I was flying up, just the drone was just ascending like a crane shot. I had the drone going up at a rate, and then when I went to the tower, it was the same rate. So it's like I went from. And then I smeared them together, which is something where that nice soft transition. That's actually my favorite. Is just a very old school, boring transition where you just one dissolves into the other. So I did that. Different software calls it different things, but
you've touched on a golden rule in filmmaking there, and this doesn't just apply to drones, and this is really something for advanced. So don't let this necessarily worry you when you first start, but. Chuck's just touched on something that's very interesting. So movie makers and any kind of cinematographer, right? This is the number one rule. When you're filming something and you're cutting between two scenes, do not change direction. So, and the easiest way to describe this is say this is your car, right? And you're shooting the car from this side and the car's going this way, right? You don't then put a shot in where you're filming from the other side of the car. Even though the car's going in the same direction, naturally on screen, it's going to be going that way. And it's going to confuse your viewer. So most of the time when people exit from one side of the screen, they enter from the other, right? They'll never come back in unless it's the same scene. But what they won't do is if you cut to another scene, almost 9 out of 10 times, somebody doesn't come in from the other direction. They'll come in intentionally from that direction. So you transition between two shots. It's always from the same direction or forwards and backwards. It's not opposites. So
I just broke that. I just broke that rule. I just broke that rule. I knew I did too because it looked awkward and I left it in anyway. See? Okay. Guilty.
We've all done it. But if you watch a Hollywood, any kind of film, movie, television or television series these days, anyway, because I've shot far more cinematically, that you'll notice that especially in action shots or anything like that, they will pan around. So you might get a scene where the angle changes slightly, but the direction on screen is still going in the same direction. What you won't do is you won't have, as I say, it's the same with the car. If you have a car speeding down a freeway, and you might have cameras here and here, but there will be another camera here before they pan between the other shots, because it will look like
you around. It'll take you around.
Yeah.
Well, sadly for us, if you're going to do stuff like that, and maybe your wife's driving your truck or something. Yeah. You're going to have to do it a few times, and your patient wife will have to be like, yeah, okay, I know I got to do it again. Because now you're going to have to situate the drone to get the one shot. And then you have to come around and get this, we'll call it the frontal shot like you're talking about, and then come around the other side. And so the truck's going like this, then the truck's coming at you, and then you have the other view.
You see, I'll let you into a secret. I had that in my last video, and there are several places, shouldn't really admit this, where I actually reversed the shot because
you can get away with that as long as there's nothing else.
There is one scene where you can tell, and unless you're really looking, you won't spot it. But there is one scene where you know that you can tell I've reversed the shot, but it's not obvious. But I reversed almost all of my shots so I could get the car always traveling in the same direction. Because I had, like Chuck's talking, I had my wife drive across.
Oh yeah, Lori's awesome. She'll roll in the truck, and she might grumble a little bit because if I screw up the shot, I'm like, yeah, I gotta do it again. What? I gotta do it again?
Yeah.
Can you do it again?
Really?
Lori, I gotta do it again? Yeah, can you do it?
Lem feels your pain. I had to drive about 2 kilometers out and back again when I was filming from above the trees. And actually, several of those shots, she's going in different directions, but again, reverse the shot.
So what we didn't do is we didn't shout out anybody in the chat here, and shame on us. I know. Like Art from Artco Drones. Hey Art, it's always good to have you here, man. And we have Chris Wedgeworth and AZ Drone Dude just popped in, and it's really nice to have you guys on.
Your long suffering better half is also in the
I guess I didn't call her out, but she can yell at me. You could probably hear her on the microphone if she yelled loud enough. Chuck!
If you came and smacked him around the head now, I wouldn't blame you.
It'd be hilarious, but she won't do it. She'll hit me afterwards, maybe.
Mine would.
Oh, look. Drone to nature.
Espen
in the house. Now, here's a guy that's been working really hard at being cinematic. He's doing all the right stuff. He's constantly playing with cameras. And being in Norway, he has basically a screensaver behind him all the time. So, well,
yep.
You two. Actually, you know what? Never underestimate what a screensaver is, because even lowly old me, I complain about New York State, but I'm not doing so bad. There's some pretty awesome stuff. Some
pretty nice cool stuff, haven't there?
The bridge porn is unbelievable around here with these covered bridges and things.
I would like, we talked about how to film more cinematically, and we've covered that, but we haven't had a conversation about the FPV drone for a while.
No, we haven't.
And you've been flying yours, and in actual fact, you sneaked in some FPV footage recently into one of your videos, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh, I did. I could probably,
yeah,
I could probably bring that up. I could probably find that. I can find that one. That was, yeah. I could find that. That was right towards the tail end, right?
Yeah.
I snuck it in. Yeah, I figured Keith, I knew you'd pick up on that, because we were doing Lori and I stayed in a really cool little VRBO.
Too hot in the hot tub.
Oops, so not there yet. That's a little too soon. But
yeah.
I think what you do? Are you moving or am I? Because I think I'm moving right there. I guess that's good.
You
yeah, so it's just the pull back, and then so I wanted to do the pull back, and then since I was pulling away from the house, I wanted to show forward, going the view from where we were, which I think is okay, even though it kind of breaks the rules you just described. But
no, you're going in the same direction.
But it seemed like, okay, well, of course, this is a long-ass number of vlogs, but right here, I did the little asteroid thing, which I love these things, but you don't use them very much in the video anymore. I just a little bit. And then right here is where you're talking about little FPV.
Yay!
It seemed fitting. It's like I was flying back towards the house, and I didn't plan on using this stuff. It just seemed like, it's showing the rolling hills and everything, and just looks kind of like a helicopter shot. So I decided to throw it. So it is quite fun to use that drone.
So yeah, I'm actually going to do a video on my channel about this, but yeah, I kind of doinked mine.
You did.
I totally doinked mine. So I was playing around here, and having a laugh. Anyway, so I'll cut to this bit, and I thought, right, I'm going to go through the pavilion because that's my signature shot. yeah. I knew the minute I came around this corner, I hadn't got it lined up properly. I was thinking, oh shit, and here we go. Watch this. So I'm an idiot.
Oh, you were off, yeah.
I am off. Boink.
Oh, no, I didn't realize you're gonna hit the plant. I didn't know you hit the. And those are like Jurassic Park plants that you have.
Yeah, that plant was obliterated, but it also
you hear the
obliterated my drone.
Yeah, you hear the.
And here's the problem, right? So this is the drone. I mean, it's still mostly intact. Now you possibly can't see that. Let me bring the cameras back up.
There we go.
But I don't know if you can see. I probably can't show you it now. But basically, I took a chunk out of this landing gear. But the landing gear is mostly intact, right? I mean, I think if I show you the silhouette, you can actually see where
it's missing a chunk of. Yeah.
But what it has done is it took out the back, sort of the light protector here. But the PCB inside, which is also your antenna, is cracked in half, even though this is still intact. So that's a bit of a design flaw. Now, something else I've learned.
They probably didn't expect you to hit some Jurassic Park-sized plant either.
Yes, but you would
the engineers
think, right,
just kidding.
That this would protect the PCB board in this, that it wouldn't bend or flex so much that it would break the PCB inside it. Yet this is still intact. Yeah, okay. There's a chunk
the board's
missing
the
here.
stiffest. The board's the
but
that you can replace those. You can replace just that piece, right? That's just the leg.
Well, here. So, DJI sell the landing gear for $19, and they sell a set, so you can get left and right. Okay. But DJI, even though their drones are sold in almost every territory in the world, DJI don't operate in every territory in the world, which means that basically they have partners. Now in Thailand, they have partners. And for love nor money, you can only get the landing gear, no PCB board inside. And no one has the PCB board except some dodgy guy in China, and I managed to get the PCB board here. But I had to order these parts separately. But one thing that became apparent was that I phoned up the dealer, and the dealer was like, I said, look, have you got the landing gear? Yep. And then it suddenly occurred to me, they do have the PCB. Oh, no, they don't have the PCB board inside. I was like, oh, God, right. Okay, do you have any PCB boards? No. But you can send it in and we can fix it. But you can't fix a PCB board. It's cracked in half. Well, don't worry, we'll replace the PCB board. Bump, monopoly. So I can't repair it myself. I have to send it into them, which actually now worries me about this drone, because I mean, I know one of our biggest criticisms is that it's not exactly robust.
Well, it has weaknesses, but the biggest weakness is what you just described, that we can't just fix it ourselves. I mean, FPV is supposed to be all about self-repair, or being able to just source the parts and pull out a soldering iron or soldering, as you might say, and then fix it up. So that's disappointing, because even as much as I dread soldering, I can do it.
Well, there is no soldering.
Be pretty, but I can do it.
One of the things the reason that DJI sell these parts is they're just connectors on the PCB boards, no soldering, which makes me think that they could have done the whole damn thing, including arms with connectors.
Well, exactly. We're going way off topic now. We've drifted way off topic into something, but but going back to the FPV drone, if you carry it on a trip with you, like Lori and I were on a road trip, so I had the whole pickup truck box to pile crap into, and I had a whole movie studio in the back of that thing. I had the lights, I had cameras, I had 4 drones. I had 4 drones on vacation, Keith. I had 2 Mavic 2 Pros, of course, my primary and my redundant Mavic 2 Pros, and then I had the Mini, and I had the FPV, and
I was very proud of myself that I could get everything into my my bag. I've got
not easy.
But I could get everything I wanted. But the minute I took out the FPV drone, the amount of space that I had in that bag was phenomenal.
The thing takes up a lot of space. If they come out with but anyway, that drone, I would say if they come out with the Mini FPV, that'd be genius. It really would be super cool, like like a Cinewhoop kind of thing. Maybe they will. But for now, though, like if you have the room, it is fun to mix that in a teeny tiny bit into your projects. But it's always fun to mix. Even if you have one drone and one camera, and I'm guilty of trying to use too many cameras at once. It's a lot of work, and it makes it more stressful, especially on vacation, to use just ground shots with a camera, aerial shots with your drone, blend them in together, and help you tell your story. That's really a cool thing to do. Because remember, Ken Herron told me, I remember he was watching one of my videos, I was doing a pan up of like a water tower from the ground with the pocket. And I went up and I rotated around it a little bit. And he complimented me because he's like, see, you can show a sense of height and size from a ground camera by doing things like that. And you can. And then so you can take, you could show like something like a water tower. You could show the water tower from the ground up, and then you can bring the drone up and then kind of finish the job. So and then if you keep the camera moving in the same direction and everything, you're following the rules.
Yes, it's I've got a funny story.
Chris says he flew FPV. Yep.
Yeah, I got a funny story about that, Chris. So on my last trip away, when we were actually allowed to go outside, I was flying over a waterfall in my Air 2S, and all of a sudden, I started noticing that it was showing turns, that the gimbal wasn't smoothing out, and I'm sitting there panicking because one of the things about the Air 2S is when I put it back in my bag, it came on that something pressed into it and turned on the battery, which never used to happen with my Mavic 2 Zoom, but does with the Mavic 2 Air 2S or Air 2S. And it'd been in the bag and on for 10 minutes. It was like red hot. So I was worried it was damaged. And when I got it out and was flying over this thing, I noticed it was doing this. And it was like, hang on, it's not leveling the horizon. I'm sitting there panicking, thinking about it. And I'm sitting there and watching the drone, and it's not leveling the gimbal properly, and the gimbal's doing this, and I'm going, oh shit, I've doinked this is 2 drones now I've wrecked on one holiday. I was not happy. Anyway, I've landed it, and I've got back to the thing, and I've taken it off again, and then suddenly realized after sitting there for an hour and a half thinking I've buggered up my drone.
You're in FPV mode.
It was in FPV mode. I've completely bloody forgotten about it.
I don't care for FPV mode on the foldables, but that's just
let's just put it this way: it works considerably better on the Air 2S.
Oh, okay. Because the Mavic 2
miles better than on the Mavic 2.
The Mavic 2 series, it's abysmally bad. And
yes,
I tried it. Remember, I did that silly little video where I tried to fly it that way before. I was trying to not buy an FPV drone. Basically, I was trying to not buy one, and then I flew it, and yeah, it just doesn't cut the mustard. But who cares? I mean, the GPS drones, the camera drones, they're freaking awesome. The FPV is fun.
The FPV mode really in the Air 2S is pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's cool. It's a nice hybrid. Yeah, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they took away like some of the using the goggles with the Air 2S, because they thought it would cut into kind of like it's where I'm looking for. You're gonna steal business from what do they call that? Leech.
Yeah.
Leech. Maybe that's the one. I don't know. Anyway, they're gonna take away their own market share. Basically, they're gonna hurt. They want the market on the Air 2S to be a camera drone. Okay, I got way off there.
It's I mean, there was meant to get a goggle mode on that at one point, and
they worked. They worked,
and it did work because they used it in their promo video.
Yeah, there was that shot through that tent that was done with goggles. There's no way you could do that. You said that way off. I was like, no, that probably just has really good obstacle avoidance. And you were laughing your butt off. And he goes, no, Chuck, there's no way. It would have went up towards that tent. It would have went whoop. There's no way. Or a really good pilot in sport mode would have somehow managed to pull it off. But
no, I don't think you can thread the needle like that on anything. That was goggles. But I still love it. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to do a little video and fix it up, and I'll get it back up in the air again and fly with it. I might be a bit more cautious with it now.
Yeah, no, you won't. Chris is right. With even whether it's the DJI FPV or the Air 2S in FPV mode, I noticed that clip stuff I used in the end of that last video. It was kind of like there's a little herky jerky stuff in there because I was really okay. I admit it. I was fooling around, and I still used the footage because it was in the credits. Because the credits, I feel like can be a little sloppier with some things. I can just throw like outtakes and stuff in there and like have fun with them. Because I don't know if many people watch the credits or not. I kind of sadly think no. But anyway, yeah, if you fly the FPV smoother, more cinematic, like a lot of the guys do that are really, really good at it, whether it's traditional FPV or the cheater FPV like you and I have, it's when it's not in manual mode, it looks really cool. It looks like a helicopter shot, like from, when movies used to be filmed aerially with a helicopter, you have that really, or a fixed wing, and is that
there
feel.
Is some,
and that's cool.
There is some places that I'd like to go and do that kind of ravine, flying down the ravine shot that just so-called FPV.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. I mean, the couth, we'll call it, the thing that's affecting us all, is really bad here at the moment. So we're not going on any trips anytime soon. But as soon as we can, we are going to venture back up there. Partly because we're looking at some land. And partly because we both love it so much, but there is a place where I would like to get that I want to fly with the FPV because I can only get the shot that I want with the FPV drone, not my Air2S. Even the Air2S in sports mode, in sports FPV mode, will not be fast enough to get that sort of swooping, as you say it, helicopter shot down the ravine that you can only do with that drone.
You know what? That bridge stuff I had in the end of my last video there, it would have been really fun to have the FPV with me and then chase the truck with the FPV across the bridge, and then maybe done some shots like go under those arches in the bridge and stuff. And because it's just there's a lot of there are a lot of places where the FPV can just do things that you just can't do with.
I was beginning to think after, because I haven't edited my last video together yet, but once I do, I was looking at some of the shots there and I was thinking, do you know what? I always said that I was buying the FPV drone to incorporate it, and then I just started dicking about with it and playing with it and loving it. But actually, there is a creative. There is a creative aspect, and I've just got to get back into doing that.
But it's hard to pack that thing and carry it with you, especially. It's massive. You don't think it's massive until you go and put it in a bag and try to carry it. And then you still want to carry your camera drone because that's, if you're like me,
here's again, if they'd made clip-in bloody arms, it could have folded away.
Yes!
DJI, yes! The next FPV drone, right?
Have it come apart. I know. Push little push button latches, like kind of like tripods and stuff. I know.
Yeah.
Do we have to do all this? DJI, you need to hire Keith and myself and Keith and me because we'll set you straight. You need a drone company, Keith.
Yeah. There is finally a video doing the rounds of the Husband Mini Pro, and they've basically completely stolen the Mavic 2 controller mostly. It does look a bit, I'm sorry, even in their video it does look a bit cheap. There's bits where the seams on the remote don't look uniform. I'm looking going, does not look as manufactured or refined as a DJI drone. I'm sorry, but it just didn't.
Wait for the Mini 3. We know what we have to wait for. If you haven't done a Mini, like I have the Mini 2, and it's awesome. It's a little freaking war horse. That thing. It's the stuff I can pull off with that is ridiculous. But I mean, if you're not getting a Mini 2, then maybe consider the Mini 3 when it rolls out, depending on what DJI does with it.
I was trying to film. I mean, another thing, right? Talking the DJI drones and stuff. I mean, I wish Skydio was selling worldwide because I'd have one in an instant.
They are cool.
The active track on DJI drones is just not good. I'm sorry. I tried using active track on the Air 2S, thinking, it's got to have been improved by now. No, it's not. It's still.
We've drifted off
the stupid stuff.
Well, as far as cinematic goes, and since we're talking cinematic stuff, the Skydio 2 does struggle with cinematic. Its shots are a bit harsh. The shots are a bit harsher.
I don't want to use it for that. I want to use it as a GoPro in the bloody sky. That's what I want it for.
That's its purpose in life.
And that's what it does extremely well.
That's what it does really well. No, but you don't know what the Pro 3 or whatever is going to have up its sleeves. Who knows? Maybe they're going to use those same 360 cameras. And
can I just interrupt? Before Espen, just before you go, can you please explain to me what is seismic refraction? I know I should know this.
They set up detonations, and then they do like he'll explain it, but I'm pretty sure they use dynamite to like sounding. Like I did. I was invited on a structural inspection of bridges. I would have liked that a lot better now than when I did at the time.
You're up in the mountains with your brother blowing shit up. Is that
that's what I think that's what he's doing, because we used to do this thing in a bridge called sounding where you tap it with a hammer. Sounds really crude, and you can find the voids in the concrete. So it's probably a similar idea, because like when you're tapping on something, it's like thump thump thump, ting ting ting, thump thump, so that you can tell where it's hollow. It's completely hollow. Anyway, bad joke. I'll bet you that's related to that because it's a structural thing. So with all that blabbing, do we scare Espen away? He's got to run.
I think he had to run, but I would love to know if it's just sitting up there blowing stuff up. Oh, that sounds like fun.
I hope there's a video coming out on this.
Espen,
you better have a video on this stuff later.
We are. Hang on, here we go. We are shooting with dynamite to create shock waves in the ground. So you're blowing stuff up. I mean, okay, there might be some kind of scientific thing to it, but basically you're blowing stuff up. That's awesome.
Well, this is why I like Chris Rollins' channel so much, because he's a drone guy, but he's switched over to high frame rate cameras and he blows stuff up all the time.
There's something to be said for it.
He's still pretty cinematic.
Who needs really expensive therapy when you can?
Yeah.
Well, have a good.
Oh, Espen is still here, but yeah, sorry, Keith. Have a good day. And we'll look for the video of you blowing stuff up too, because that's. Bring it. We'll watch it.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, we've nattered on, but I did want to say about the active trap, because I mean, just shooting the shit now really with this stuff, but active track is bad on that, and the Skydio is just way better. And I hope
going out of focus. I don't know why I'm going out of.
Yeah, mine does it now and again. I just hope that somebody brings out a drone that does it better. But
weird.
Yes, we hopefully should be back in 2 weeks with Henry again. That will have some news for us to talk about. Hopefully,
things ought to start opening up again. We're getting late in the summer here, and that's usually DJI loves to release stuff late summer.
I will check those videos up. I will, because if you're up there blowing stuff up, that would be cool. So I will check that out.
Wonder if there's a Skydio 3 coming, Keith. Or are they still busy?
Hang on. Yes, we're blowing shit up.
You better be filming it.
The only thing is now, Espen, is just need a couple of beers.
Well, you don't know. There might be.
Probably.
If there's dynamite involved, there's probably alcohol involved in this.
It's the scientific thing. It's the scientific thing, which you're just telling your partner's wives, other halves, what you're, just as an excuse. So it sounds like you're doing something. When really you're just blowing crap up and drinking beer.
Hold my beer and watch this.
Yes. Oh, my beer.
Espen, be careful, man. Just
enjoy it, buddy.
Keep the blood alcohol content to a minimum while you're blowing stuff up. That's all.
And have fun.
I gotta drink beer today. Yes, it's supposed to be like flying the drone. You're supposed to drink the beer after you blow stuff up, after you fly the drone. Not before.
Enjoy.
By the way, when you mentioned about overheating your Air 2S, I had an incident filming that last video that came out this morning where I packed up the smart controller and the drone at the one brewery, and I had neglected to turn off the smart controller because I was in a hurry.
Ooh,
yeah. When I went to take it out, I heard this beep, 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 and a red light on that smart controller, and the thing, it felt like Chernobyl, like it was gonna have a meltdown. So luckily I had bought beer, so I put the controller on top of the cold beer in the cooler, and I didn't have there was no ice in it, was just the beer cans. I sat on top and sipped it up and came back, let it sit there for 5 minutes, and it lived.
I mean, I'm deaf as a plank, and it was Lem, my wife, that heard it, but it must have been in the bag, in its sleeve, because I've got one of those DJI sleeves as well. And because I use the clips that clip on over it to keep the props in place. Yeah. Something had pressed in the middle, and it turns the damn thing on. And it was absolutely red hot. Absolutely red hot.
I thought for sure. I hope I didn't. Well, probably did shorten the life of the smart controller, maybe a little, but it was like maybe not. If it just got hot, whatever. It was not a good deal. So be really careful. Make sure you turn all your damn gear off too, or you're not gonna be doing anything cinematic if the gear is a meltdown. Hey, I see the Drone Rangers in the house. So nice to see it, man.
Hi, Mike. It very nearly did me, but again, still, even despite all the issues with the smart controller and the DJI Fly app, I love that thing even now. I
have a friend who just bought an Air 2. She bought it yesterday at Best Buy and was asking me, like, we were playing 20 questions. She had all kinds of questions. I was kind of helping her understand that she does have to register it with the FAA here in the United States, and that she needs to take the trust exam, and that you can't fail it. You just have to keep going through it till you get it right. But the whole point is that you learn the rules so that you can. And she's a former helicopter pilot, Keith. I think she's going to be all right.
Fair enough. Think? Yeah, probably
flying freaking. Yeah,
if you can fly a helicopter, which I know is not easy.
You know, she was military. She's flying helicopters. She's a pretty cool chick, by the way. I don't know if Roxy's watching, but Roxy's pretty cool. So,
well, enjoy your Air 2 because I love that drone as well. I think.
Well, if she's watching, she's just gonna. She said, "What do I do first, Chuck?" You know, I'm like, I said, just take it up somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Well, she has plenty of acreage. She has a these like farmer's field basically. So, yep, perfect. Take it up. Don't have to go far away. Get used to the controls. She's going to use it primarily for photography, which is something we were talking about. But somehow I think she'll get the controls pretty damn fast, and then
we will. I mean, we will talk a bit about photography. I know that mainly we talk about videography, but I do quite a bit with photography.
I think we should. I think we should because there's a lot of really good stuff out there that award-winning stuff.
I think it was either your first or your second video from your last trip. You had that amazing bridge shots, but it was the reflection on the water that you got so well. I got that in a picture the other day over the lake. I went for a cycle around this lake where we were, and I got something picture-wise similar. But that shot that you got in that bridge was just gorgeous.
I wish I have that one handy. Where is that? That was I do have that one handy. Did I already put that? Keith, is that already there? Poopies. It is. You know, it's hard to sift through these things.
It is.
How do you do it? It's not moving. I'll add it again. But yeah, what's funny is that was a mix of the drone and ground footage too. So,
but it was the shot that you got. The one that I loved was the bit where it was the drone shot, and you just got that reflection in the water, and it was mirroring almost perfectly. And it just, I love shots like that.
The whole mirror thing was working for me that day. For some reason, it had been windy and rainy all day, and we got to that location, and it was just perfect. The sun came out, had some clouds, and then when I put the drone up,
I'm Chuck.
Oops, not ready yet. Trying to find it. Got to get past the beer stuff. You know me and my beer stuff. If I can find it, Keith. Okay, I think I found it. I kind of found it. You can play it if you want. I think it's right there. That's the bridge one. This bridge was built in 1854 by Robert Murray to span 174.
Of
1,700 American. Yeah, that's okay. I'm sorry, I brought it in a little too soon because I like to show the historic signs, which is probably boring to people, but I still want to show it. So yeah, revealing the front of the bridge and then the drone.
That reflection is so damn cool.
Yeah, that came out really good. I was happy with that one. I love showing the span of the bridge from above, and that's something you need a drone to do. And just the pullback shot was just really pretty reflections that day. I think the tree had some character as far as cinematography goes. I like having the tree in there. It gives you a bit of depth. And that was a pocket too. That was just a pocket too to reveal the reflection. So that shot I'm really proud of. And that was just walking through the bridge to show the structure inside. And somehow I have this car that enters the bridge as I'm doing my pullback shot and avoiding wires. Those wires were closer than you think. And I managed to fit with the music and everything to have the car enter and exit the bridge, which was just kind of just, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So
that landscape that you've got there, the hills with the tree, the sort of mountainous sort of tree hills, very similar looking landscape to where we were,
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? See, that's what I'm saying. When it's like, no matter where you are in the world, chances are there's something that somebody would be very interested to see. And yeah, it's gorgeous down in upstate. I call it down in upstate New York because I'm in the middle of New York State, kind of north and west of where we were. But there's a lot of pretty stuff out there to capture, and you don't always need to be in the air to get it either.
Okay, well, I think we've been on for an hour, so I think we will wrap this one up and put a bow on it for today.
Yeah.
As I said, Henry should be back with us, I believe, in our next show, which will be in 2 weeks. And we should have some drone news and a bit more structure. Sorry that we've just been generally chatting today.
We needed to get back into the saddle. On the saddle.
Yes. I'm definitely on the saddle most days, trust me, but not this. But the saddle on this, yes. Yeah, on a bike saddle. Believe me, I'm feeling it today.
So be stand by for Keith's next channel. It's going to be, weight loss, and working out with Keith, your fitness dude.
I did do a lot of drone tracking of the bicycle. That's why I was banging on about Active Track, because I had a real trouble getting it to work.
The K-Spot Fitness channel is coming soon.
K-Spot Fitness
to a YouTube near you.
With extra added lycra.
With extra lycra. Well, that's a little scary. I don't know if I want to. We probably.
I'll put that image out there.
Guys, boy, here we go.
Thank you for everybody that's taken part in the chat. If you're going out flying like Mike is, have a good flight. Good luck, Espen. Don't blow yourself up, but enjoy your evening.
Yeah, keep those fingers. You need them for flying. You need those fingers.
Yes. Thanks, Chris, for commenting. Thanks, Laurie, and thanks to everybody else. Thanks, Art. We will be back in the next one, but Chuck, just before we go, you released a video this morning, so would you like to plug it, sir?
I will plug my little video. It's called The Fork in the Road. It's for obvious reasons. Opens up with the fork in the road, and then we checked out a couple of breweries again, but I think I have another one on tap, no pun intended, actually, because the next one is Lori and I were we spent some time in Bethel, New York, which is where Woodstock occurred about 52 years ago in Bethel, New York. Really a little rock concert, only like 500,000 people. So that one's gonna roll out, and I hope people enjoy that one, and that was really fun to make. So check out my channel if you didn't, but you probably did, because everybody out here knows me.
Yes, go check it out. Guys, catch you in the next one. I will hopefully have some videos on my channel in the next couple of weeks. I have been a bit lapsed with it, but
yeah, Keith, where is this stuff?
Well, it's just
look at my eyes are like piss holes because I'm up till all night. Editing. Thank God for Da Vinci.
Hopefully, hopefully, because we did all the shopping today, we did all the errands, that I will not be dragged somewhere tomorrow, so I actually have some time to do some editing. Believe me, I was out until 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's how long she had me dragged around shops after shops after shops. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. But for now, bye-bye. Say goodbye, Chuck.
Peace out.
Peace.
See you later.
Out. Groovy, baby.
Yeah, groovy. Fly safe.